Okay, first I have to say that another big influence in my life as a filmmaker was a movie called Hoop Dreams, which was filmed in Chicago as well by the same director, Steve James, who was unable to be here tonight. And that film just made me also think I have to make movies like this at some point. And this had that same effect. It's an incredibly powerful story, and most of it takes place 30 minutes from where we're sitting right now, or less, or closer, and it's just unimaginable what's going on in our backyards and how we just, me turn my back on it or don't really deal with it, and yet there are people out there that are helping and fixing it every day. These people sitting to my left, so. I really can't stress enough how important it is for you all to see this film, especially living in Chicago or anywhere. Doesn't matter where you live. So I'm going to just start the Q&A. My first question will be to Zach, because as a filmmaker watching this film being made, well, it's to all of you, because you all had to allow Steve or whoever to be there. It is almost the most unprecedented access that I have seen inside people's lives and inside of neighborhoods. How was that access granted, and what was how did it all come about, the idea of the film in the first place?
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy, that's for sure. The idea of the film came about with Alex Kotlowitz, one of the other producers, did a feature piece for the New York Times Magazine in 2008. And Alex is a longtime friend with Steve James, the director, and they'd been trying to work together for some time. And so when the piece was published, Steve and Alex connected and thought it might be a good project to collaborate on. And I've worked with Steve in the past before out of Cartemplin Films and other projects. So with Alex, we already had the access to the organization, and he'd been working and researching for about a year. And so he was already sort of known around the office of CeaseFire. Some of these guys may have run into him during that time, but so we just did some fundraising, went out and started filming. Now it took time to actually get the access to, we're out in the situations with these guys where they're actually, face to face with people who want to, commit a violent act, and usually it's in the moment where they're, heated, they're emotional, and they're not thinking clearly. The reason we were able to get ourselves out in the situations with them is we had to spend a lot of time with these guys. We spent many months of building their trust, them trusting us, giving them some control over the situation, where striking a deal, sort of like, if we're going to be out there with you, first we just want to be out there, but if there's ever a problem where we're undermining the work that they're doing, or where we're personally in harm's way, we would sort of defer to them, and they would let us know. And sometimes they did. You can't film now, or these people don't want to be filmed, or filming's over now, you need to leave. And so
well, how did Cobe, we'll start with you, how did it feel having a camera on you doing that? That scene with I can't remember the guy's name. Flamo. There's a scene with Flamo, if you haven't seen it. I just can't believe Flamo didn't just pop the cameraman in the head and get the how did Flamo feel, and how did you feel?
At first, like he was saying, T.O. was telling us in our meetings every week, in our interrupted meet, because we have a weekly meeting at CeaseFire every week, and he was like, they doing a documentary on CeaseFire, they want to show the work we do in the community. So at first we was like, oh, we ain't sure, man, we don't want them following us. So then I started thinking myself, I changed my life. I was part of the problem, now I'm part of the solution. I changed my life, so it's good to show people what we actually do in the community. So when Steve and Zach and Alex started calling me, and I started calling them, but we had to understand, say, if they come out there, if people don't want to be filmed, we had to understand they're just going to go about their business. But me, Ameena, Eddie, and the rest of the interrupters had to stay there and do our job. Our job is to mediate a conflict, regardless if it's getting filmed or not. That was our job. So we had that understanding. So most of the time, every time somebody called me, I let them know up front, man, I'm letting you know they doing a documentary on CeaseFire. I got my film crew with me. So I kept saying that over and over. So as I was saying it, I just started taking them. They started coming out with me. So in the community, people see them and starting to see them on a regular basis with me, and they filming and all that. So every time they something going on, I just let people know up front. And some people's like, oh, they could come. Then some people like, no, Kobe, you could come, but they got to go or block our face out and all that. So when Flamo called me to sing here, so when Flamo called me, I said, I got my film crew on me. He said, I don't care who you got, come over here right now. I need to talk to you. So when he got over there, some of the things they had to cut out of there because Flamo, he told me it was all right to come, but when he saw them, he kind of, I thought he was gonna flip the strip on me. Like, man, you know, he did go there for a minute. Yeah. Then I said, you knew they was with me. I told you I got my film crew with me. They follow me around every day. So once I started talking to Flamo and talking to other people, it was easy to get through to people. Then a lot of times when people used to have doubts about who was with me, if they did or if they didn't, I would say, man, you don't know Steve James? He the one did Hoop Dreams. That's him right there. Want to take a picture with him? So I started whittling them in and different things like that. And Alex was known, you know, for writing books. So a lot of people read his book. There are no children here. So it was easy, you know, to work with it. But a lot of people, most important though, like me, Ameena, Eddie, and other people who work with us, I mean, people trust in us though. Mm-hmm. They knew we had made a big change in our life. They knew where we come from and what we was doing now. And they know we are trying to really help out in the community. We are really trying to reach the people who we've been working with to really try to show them that you can make a change. So it worked itself out.
And Ameena, with you, what did it help you when you had the crew with you at times? Did you have to tell them, guys, give us a second, or did it actually make you a better interrupter at times, or a worse? I mean, how did you feel?
It didn't make me a better interrupter. However, like the scene that's in the trailer, that was a very, very volatile response that we were doing. It was those guys were trying to get Corey in the ground, and it was no topic for discussion that they were going to retaliate. That was it. They were talking about that when as soon as we get him in the ground, whoever did this is going to be answered for it. They didn't even know who, you know, it was questionable who did it. And I did tell Steve and Alex that I will be around about the location, and I looked up and there was Zach getting out the car and Steve getting out the car. And I made an agreement with them that it was something to the effect that I'll give you a signal or something, but it was so intense at that time, I couldn't, you know, it blocked my mind, just went into dealing with what was going on. And the way that I allowed them to get in is our community is struggling, man. They hurting out there, and they're real hopeful on what's going on, and understanding from where I've been and where I am now. I let them know these are some people coming in. No, they're not the police, and you'll get to tell the story about what's going on here in Chicago. You can tell how what's going on in your hood, on your block, on a day, a second in Inglewood or Roseland or wherever we may work. So let's use this opportunity to talk about what's going on. Let's open up the eyes of Chicago and abroad, because this is just not a block issue. It's a you know, it's a United States of America issue. You know, everything is going on in Chicago is going on in other cities and states and countries. So the way that I got in was to let these guys know and the girls know that this is our opportunity to voice concerns, to let emotions out, you know, and to have some hope. So that's how I got them in.
So that's great. Eddie, you were in jail for 14 years?
Yeah, 14 years, 3 months.
14 years, 3 months, you probably know the day. And when you came out, it's you're all of you guys are just, they're so moving in the film, and I was really affected by how when you came out you could have gone this way or that way. And talk a little bit about when you came out and how you got into this work.
I think the fact that before I came home I had a game plan. You know, I took advantage of all the academic resources that IDOC, which is the Illinois Department of Corrections, offered. So I knew from the very beginning that, you know, what I had done. You know, I took someone's life as a result of a retaliation, which is a ceasefire, interrupt. That's what we try to prevent now. And I took so much from the community that I grew up in, and I took from my family, I took from my victim's family. So I was trying to figure out a way how I could, you know, dedicate the rest of my life and making amends. And so one of the things that I did was, okay, I got to start educating myself. And so when I came home, I had a set of plans, I had a set of goals, and I started off, right after I came home, I enrolled in a community college. Um, I started off doing some volunteer work at a pro and car urban life, urban life skills, um, and I started mentoring kids. I started sharing my testimony. So I started using this negative part of my life to influence people in a positive way. And I also was able to reach out to a lot of the same guys I grew up with, a lot of the same kids that looked up to us. Because for a lot of them, going to prison or getting shot is a badge of honor. So I just pretty much took that as an opportunity to build relationships with them, to build trust, and to inform them and share how the impact that violence actually had, both in my life and the victim in my case.
Another thing I noticed, it doesn't really, you guys don't really get into it in the movie, but it's very clear that drugs and alcohol are playing a huge role in a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's amazing how messed up a lot of the people are. And I'm sure that's a part of your guys' jobs, is to try to keep people on, the straight and narrow. Is that part of the community work as well, it seems, beside, or is there another alternative program?
No, CeaseFire main mission is to reduce the shooting and killing.
Right.
I mean, drugs play a part, gang banging and all that play a part, but we just try to focus on our main mission is to reduce the shooting and killing. Mm-hmm. We don't be out there in the community telling people what they shouldn't do. They shouldn't sell drugs. They shouldn't do this. We don't do none of that. A lot of that come from, the altercations come from through drugs at times, but we stay on our topic, our main mission, reduce the shooting and killing. So that's what we really do, and our main thing is to try to reach the youth who we could reach. We got a target population who we work with, 16 to 25, and we try to reach them. We deal with people, me, Ameena, and Eddie on an everyday basis, and the rest of the team. We deal with people who nobody don't want to deal with, people who they turn their back on. We meet them where they at. We don't, and one thing about the program been so successful doing the work we've been doing because we not judgmental at all. We don't judge nobody.
Right.
At all. So we meet them where they at and work with them and just stay on what we stay on, reduce the shooting and killing. We just try to educate people and let them know because you have a disagreement or a misunderstanding, that means you got to go get your gun and blow his head off. That means you got to shoot him. Y'all ain't got to beat him to death. So we try to educate them and reach out to them like that.
Incredible results. Incredible results. And that's why, I mean, you all three just seem like you come from love. Like a planet called love or something. I mean, it's just incredible how you're able to transform and to stop, the action from happening. Were there any times when you guys felt like this film is going to actually, and maybe you could talk about this, all of you, it's actually helping the community, having the cameras there, like people caring, people actually do give a shit about what's going on, that it's actually been a plus?
Well, for me, I didn't really realize it until we had I guess it was called a sitting called voiceover, where when they filmed and then I had to, something probably didn't come out clear and I had to look at the DVD player and try to go back there and do a voiceover or correct a or a. And when I actually saw what was going on right there, it was like a mirror image. And today, I get a lot of people that come and approach me and they say, well, thanks a lot. It's a mirror image for me that you were able to have these guys come in and see, man, we really fucked up and we need to do whatever it is that you need for me to do, Ameena. I really want to do it because I was once part of the problem. So it's a clear mirror image, and no, we don't try to talk. We don't talk about drug selling. We don't talk about whatever. We talk about, like Cobe said, buying into the campaigning of stopping the shootings and the killings. However, we are credible messengers. We once was part of the problem. So they want to understand and they're looking us over to say, well, damn, what was it that you did to change your life? How was it? So we educate and change the mindset of what, today I'm not selling drugs. Today I'm a productive member of society. And they pulled our file and they see that we were once part of the problem. These are little young shorties we deal with. The ages from, it's supposed to be 16 to 25, but the shooters are getting much, much, much younger.
Yeah.
And it was just such a phenomenal thing to allow. For me, it took me 2 months to step up, and I'll be the one to say I didn't trust them. I didn't know what, because I dealt with the news. I dealt with the media on how they would take a soundbite, a clip, and they would mix some garbage together. Dealing with how they did my dad and how they did, just different things going on. So it took me a minute to really understand what was Steve's storytelling, what was Zach's storytelling, what was it that they really wanted to tell about inner city violence and the epidemic, and once, as Alex say, I was a hard courtship. Once I decided and I submitted and I talked to my husband about, because we put ourselves in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
We put ourselves out there in a vulnerable state for those that haven't seen it, that will cause us to be judged. Us to be our necks put out on the guillotine, and sometimes maybe at that second they'll say, that's okay, well, they come from the planet love. So, just to let them in was a huge, huge, big risk. And I have no regrets. And I can speak for, my brothers here. Kobe did. We were out sometimes together and he would say, this is my film crew, and he would, my film crew. And Eddie's passion with dealing with the, expression of dealing with our kids in the community through art. So for me, I have no regrets. I really glad that they came in, and I told them we had rules. Alex couldn't wear his police shoes. And because of perception, the way these guys and these girls look at the white boy, and because it's the same perception in the white neighborhood of a black kid. They grab their purses, the white girl grab her purse, and made the stigma. So it's still the same stigma, but it worked out really cool. We didn't have any fatalities with these guys, and
Still here. We're lucky.
Look close a couple times.
a couple of times it was
Real close. And well, a couple more quick questions. We don't have much time, I know. The art thing, talk a little bit about the work you do with art in the community and how that's been successful.
Well, for me, when I was in prison, one of the things that I used for self-therapy was art. So
And those were your paintings?
actually, a couple of them were mine. Some you've seen through the film. But then I was working with a couple groups. One group in particular in this film actually did their own paintings. So we they didn't have an art program in the school. So I taught them in a crash course, 2-month program. But it wasn't so much about teaching them about art. Really what it was is using that time to reflect and process what they're going through, dealing with violence and domestic violence and the gangs and so forth. So it was the time for them to actually, you catch them at an early age and you're able to process what they're going through. And for me, that was very important. And I continue to do this type of work because I see the relevance and the importance of having to, as a peer, through peer education or as a form of therapy, counseling. This is one of the ways that you not only address some of the issues or concerns that they're actually they have or they're being exposed to, but you actually just walk them through this. And it was important because that's something that I didn't have nobody growing up to help me process what I was seeing, process the domestic violence in my house, process seeing guys outside the neighborhood, outside my house, with guns and shooting each other. And that's why it became normalized for me. It became normal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Where can everybody see the movie?
Well, the film's actually playing here later tonight at the Siskel Center. It's playing here every night until next Thursday. It's also playing on the south and west side at the Ice Theater in Chatham and in Lawndale.
And TV?
It will air on Frontline sometime next year, maybe February.
Okay.
So,
It's phenomenal. I mean, and these are real, true life heroes, and I really hope everybody takes time and sees the film. And any way you can help the communities, I mean, I also went going, God, I want to teach drama in that, help teach, I mean, it's a talk about change. This is a film that really inspires change.
And that's really something with all three of us, to use the documentary as a platform to do what we, to stop the shootings and killing, and then what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like drama, painting. I have a grassroots organization, Kobe. He's the teddy bear of the community. Everybody wants to see Cobe Williams. Everybody wants to, be with Kobe, see what Kobe is doing. So you guys can really, to get involved, ask questions. We're going to be out front later, and we're so honored to be here.
And everybody make sure y'all see the film this year. Don't wait till Frontline to see it. See it this year. Yeah. And if you like the film, please spread the word. If you don't like it, don't tell nobody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.